The Department of Public Health and Human Services is pleased to bring you Aging Horizons. Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, fraud, legal issues, veterans benefits, and caregiving. Aging Horizons is a program dedicated to inform and prepare Montanans on these timely issues, making a difference to you and your loved ones. Here now is today's program host.
Hi everyone. Today on Aging Horizons we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, food. And actually the Montana Food Bank Network, such an important resource to the citizens of Montana, especially now with COVID and all kinds of weird stuff going on, plus winter. So we have a great guest today to talk to us about what's available and how to find those resources. So stay tuned.
I think the most pleasant surprise when we turned 65 and signed up for Medicare Part B was finding out about our Welcome to Medicare preventive visit.
It was free, and it gave us the opportunity to visit with our doctors and establish a plan for our health going forward.
They reviewed our medical history, measured our height, weight, blood pressure, and counseled us on other risk factors.
To learn more about Medicare's free or low-cost preventive and wellness benefits, call your local SHIP counselor at 800-551-3191. I mentioned it's free, right?
Twice.
This is Bill. He just received his new Medicare card and is following some simple rules to protect himself from fraud. He knows to never give out his Medicare, Social Security, or bank number over the phone. And this is Nancy. She knows that to detect any problems, she always reads her Medicare summary notice or Medicare Advantage EOB to make sure the billing is correct. Both Bill and Nancy know that anything suspicious can be reported to Montana SMP at 1-800-551-3191.
Receiving help for Ella has been life-changing, and the best word for it is relief. I was the therapist, I was the aide, and I couldn't be the mom because emotionally you're just to your wits' end, you're trying to survive.
I provide care for the Harrises, specifically their daughter Ella. Respite care is extremely challenging, but the rewards that you receive from it are 100 times more than working with a child that doesn't have special needs. Once they get something, it's everything. It's a you celebrate. You don't just enjoy those moments. You celebrate every moment that you get, that you guided them to that next step.
Respite. It's okay to need it. It's okay to want it. Will you provide it? Call 800-224-6034 or visit respite.mt.gov.
It went from survival to enjoying life and being able to be a mom again.
Brought to you by the Montana Broadcasters and this station.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Aging Horizons, brought to you by the Department of Public Health and Human Services. I'm your host, Kimmy Everman, and we're going to be talking about food today. You guys know I love the food topics because we all do, but this is really a little bit more serious and very important for you to know. We're talking today with a very good resource at the Montana Food Bank Network. It's Gail Carlson. Gail, welcome. And
Hi, Kimmy.
And you are the president and CEO of the Montana Food Bank Network. So before we go any further, let's talk about how does that differ from my local food bank? What does that mean?
Well, we are the statewide distribution center. So what we do is do all of the acquisition nationally and locally, bring the food into here. We make it available for order by all the local partner agencies. We have a network of about 350 agencies that we work with. And then they get the product from us. We do the delivery to anything outside of the immediate Missoula area.
And Gail, because this is always my favorite part as well, talk a little bit about the kinds of foods that you're distributing these days.
Originally, and I would say, even just 8 to 10 years ago, most of what you saw coming from us was just a lot of shelf-stable food, canned goods, those kinds of things, and always the staples of peanut butter and tuna fish and pancake mix, those kinds of things. But we are so fortunate to have such a great network of partners now that we are bringing in a significant amount of fresh foods, produce from the Pacific Northwest area. We have a lot of protein from local agriculture. So it has just been an amazing process. We have about 75% of what we distribute is fresh, nutritionally sound food. So we don't do snack items and soda and things like that. It's really good quality.
That is great to hear, because you're right, it wasn't always that way, and it's so much healthier to eat fresh foods whenever you can. So glad to hear that. And then, so you're kind of like the clearinghouse, if you will, and then my local food bank works with you to get product?
Yeah, absolutely. What we do is every 6 weeks, we open up our inventory for like an online shopping. So, they can go on there and pick and choose the items and the quantities that they want out of our inventory, and then we will start the delivery cycle. So we do take about 3 to 4 weeks and deliver throughout the whole state, and make sure that everybody has things from senior centers to pantries to schools that are running school feeding programs, things like that. So we have a lot of crew that's out on the road significant amounts of the year.
Yeah. Since you mentioned food insecurity, I'd like to talk about that a little bit. Gail, what does that mean? And how does that impact a community?
It's great questions, and I'll start with, first of all, what it means. Food insecurity isn't always what Montanans, kind of expect of security. I've gotten some unusual responses back when I talk about that, but food insecurity is when an individual does not have consistent access to healthy and nutritious food. So it can be in the matter of cost, they can't afford it, or maybe they are in a food desert and they don't have access to anything than maybe their local convenience store, things like that.
And a food desert is what? Explain that term.
A food desert is a community where it's a low-income community where they have to travel at least 10 miles to their nearest food source. And when I say food source, it really could be a convenience store, and not a full-fledged grocery store. So they do have to go a distance. And we have more than half of our counties here in the state are food deserts.
Wow. That's amazing. And people have to go so far and pay more, actually, if you end up having to go to a convenience store for something.
Absolutely.
And it's probably not as fresh as probably what the food bank is providing. And so let's just talk a little bit more about the impact on a community when they don't have food security. What happens?
Well, not having access to nutritious food can lead to a lot of health issues. So while we think as, food secure individuals that it doesn't impact us, well, when you have a large portion of your community that are accessing healthcare all the time, those costs start going up for everybody. And a lot of the nutritional impact is health related. Then you also have lots of productivity. Kids can't study well. They're academically not as advanced. Their behavioral issues, attendance, just so many things that impact hunger.
Yeah, and for our purposes, for older adults, what kind of impact do they see?
Well, and again, it goes back to the health. If you don't eat nutritional food, you can have a higher rate of diabetes, you have a higher rate of health issues, shorter lifespan, a higher and more advanced earlier stages of dementia. It impacts adults in such significant ways.
Right. And we do have some very low-income folks in our state, and they may have had these food insecurities and deserts for years.
Absolutely. And, we look at seniors in particular, and so many of them are living on limited incomes. And we have 1 in 11 seniors that are living under the poverty line, and that is $16,000 a year for a 2-person household. I can't even imagine living like that for a year, 2 people.
Me either, Gail. And folks, I bet you can't either. It's very, very important that we solve this issue in our country of food instability, food deserts, and make sure that everyone always has enough to eat. And thank goodness we have the Food Bank Network in Montana that's helping that become a reality, helping good, fresh food get into local communities so that you can have a nutritious meal and enjoy your life more, stay independent, stay in your home. That's what it's all about, folks. Stay tuned. We have a lot more to talk about.
With as many as 1 in 10 Americans at risk for Alzheimer's or some other form of dementia, chances are someone you know and love will receive that diagnosis. When that happens, you may well feel devastated, but know that you are not alone. Help is available. You don't have to face dementia by yourself. Call the free 24/7 Alzheimer's Association helpline, 800-272-3900, for guidance and support.
It's been 27 years. I never thought I'd still be smoking, but here I am, COPD and all. I'm about to have a granddaughter. There's so much to show her, but I'm scared I won't be able to keep up like I used to. I kind of gave up on myself on quitting. But it's different now. I want to be here for her and for my daughter.
When I stopped showing up, Jim showed up at my door. He took me to the hospital in town to get me help. That's the day Jim saved my life.
Everyone has a role to play in preventing suicide. Know the signs and don't be afraid to speak up. If someone you know is in crisis or emotional distress, the only wrong thing to say is nothing at all. Call 800-273-TALK or text MT to 741-741.
Every generation produces heroes, men and women who step forward to defend our country in time of need, no matter the personal cost to themselves. And though we can never fully repay them, we can make sure they have access to low-cost, long-term care when they need it. That's what Montana's Veterans Homes are all about. If you've got a hero in need in your family, call us. We can help.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here today with Gail Carlson of the Montana Food Bank Network. Gail, good to have you here. So glad to see you again.
Thank you.
Let's talk a bit about what has become like the huge elephant in every room, which is COVID-19, vaccines, social distancing, all that stuff. How does that seem to be affecting an older adult's like access to food, or is it in Montana?
Well, during the heat of the pandemic, when a lot of the state was shut down, I mean, one of the issues with so many seniors is that they don't have the transportation access, and they don't, have the way to get to their local pantry, and so it's really a struggle as it is. So they're depending on people to deliver to them, or maybe using public transportation to get somewhere. So obviously, during the shutdown, their isolation just increased dramatically. So their ability to get to their local senior center, their local pantry, even their grocery store was almost nothing. So that just forced them into isolation even more. And then you look at the individuals who rely upon these sources. Let's just say for the senior centers that are providing congregate meals, and they were closed down and unable to do that, or Meals on Wheels, and they could not do that. So all of these access resources they had were either eliminated or dramatically reduced. The good positive side of it is those that did have transportation were able to go to some of their local pantries, and their distribution methods changed dramatically. So now they were able to load a box of food into their car instead of making them go inside and do their own shopping. So there was a couple of positive things that have come out of it that we've continued with, but it really, really pushed them into an isolation factor that was far more difficult than before.
Yeah. And so you feel that at this point, now we're 2 years into it, are things getting better?
They are. We're finding that it's easier for them now to get out. Public transportation is available. They can get to their local pantries. They can get to their senior centers. Still being very, very cautious. So we're hoping that they take as many precautions as they can. So things are starting to open up, and they are getting better access. But there are still those that are very fearful, that have high risk situations, and just are still unable to come out of their homes.
Sure. Yeah, and one can understand the fear. So what we want to ask our audience is reach out. If you have a neighbor, if you have a friend, if it's you that needs some food support, reach out, right? And let us know so that we can send you in the right direction to get the resources that you need. And in terms of the pandemic, it's gone on a while, and so things are starting to open up again, but people are still needing to reach out, right? What should they do to get a hold of you at the Montana Food Bank if they want to get you?
Yeah, and they can certainly access any of their local pantries, which is, always the first place to go. It's closest and easiest. But if they don't know where that is, or if they don't have one nearby, they can give us a call. We're at 406-721-3825. Or if they have access to a computer, they can go to our website at mfbn.org. And on our website, we have a map, and you can put in your community, your area code, your zip code, and it'll find the nearest pantry for you.
Super. And Gail, I just wanted to, before we finish up this segment, I wanted to talk a little bit about your holiday work, because even though we're into December now, your holiday work is pretty much over. Is that correct? In the earlier months. Tell about that.
Yep. Well, we actually start our holiday plans in the spring because we need to order all of our turkeys. We will purchase a few thousand turkeys and make them available. We do all of our ham orders, things like that. So we start in the spring with a lot of that. But once we start receiving that in September, then we start getting that out to those organizations and agencies and making sure that they have all the adequate holiday supplies that they need by the end of October. Mm-hmm. So we're just wrapping up a lot of our holiday deliveries, and they will be set for their Thanksgiving distributions very soon.
That's just wonderful, and I know that there's a lot of folks out there who are going to really appreciate this. Now, Gail, let's move on and talk about a hunger summit that was sponsored through you and AARP. Can you talk a little bit about that earlier this year?
Right. We started a couple of years ago. Our organization was doing some focus groups with all of the area on aging. So we kind of did a road trip and spoke to the individuals who are working there and said, what are some of the issues that you're running into? And came up with some really interesting information. So that then turned us into having a summit. And we had planned on doing it in 2020, but obviously because of COVID, we had to delay it until earlier this year. We did it virtually, and we had some great presenters from AARP and from around the state, from area aging groups and so on. And we came up with a plan. So this group now, since then, has become a coalition, and we are taking a look at some things that have to do with equitable access, partnerships. Who can we build partnerships with? Very unusual. Our transit companies, our postal workers, those kinds of things. Health and well-being, commitment to all these different organizations and to our seniors themselves, and accountability. How do we make sure that we continue to be accountable to each other on all this?
That sounds super, Gail, and lovely to have people to the table. One of my favorites is nothing about us without us. So you bring people to the table and you really let them be involved, because they usually know what needs to happen and what and what is going to work. And folks, again, we're talking about a hand up, not a handout. If you are food insecure, we want to encourage you to reach out to one of these resources and get some support. You deserve it. No one should be hungry, not ever. We have a lot more to talk about. We have one more segment to go, and we don't want you to miss a thing, so stay with us.
I was diagnosed with diabetes in 1992, and I went into denial. It made me angry. I was a professional chef, and I didn't want to change my eating style. It took me a long time to get serious about managing my health. My perspective changed from resentment to one of loving my body, the container for my spirit. Getting help from my diabetes educator supported my goals of improved self-care. I want to feel good and have a great life. My diabetes educator helps me do this.
If the Aging Network in Montana was a restaurant, the sign out front would say, over 50 million meals served over the last 30 years. Since adequate nutrition is critical to health and quality of life, nutrition services are an important factor in keeping older Montanans healthy, independent, and living in their community and home. To find out more about senior nutrition programs in your area, call 1-800 551-3191.
In 20 years at an electric utility, I've seen the hardships many of our neighbors face with high winter heating bills.
Ross Holter, Flathead Electric Co-op.
That's why I donate to Energy Share of Montana. I just hate the thought of senior citizens, and young kids especially, being cold in the winter. Donate to Energy Share. Help your neighbor stay warm.
To donate, call 888-779-7589 or go to EnergyShareMT.com. Energy Share, you can help your neighbor stay warm.
Did you just text me?
I didn't want to disturb you if you were sleeping.
Sleeping? I'm sitting right next to you, silly.
There you are. Hey, I found a couple of Medicare helping programs online that I think we ought to look into.
It says if we qualify, we can get help paying for our prescription drugs. Oh, and there's a program that can help pay our Part B premium.
To learn more about extra help and Medicare savings programs, call your local SHIP counselor today.
Maybe I better text him.
Hi folks, welcome back to Aging Horizons. We're here talking about food security today and the Montana Food Bank Network with Gail Carlson. Gail, welcome. We're so glad you're with us. We've had some great discussions so far. So let's get to the really, really important piece, which is I need assistance. What do I do?
Well, again, you can go to our website at mfbn.org and get right into your community and find out what is local there. You can call us on the phone number that we had mentioned before. And then also reach out to your local pantries, because not only are they there to distribute food, but they're there to support you and connect you with a lot of other services that are available as well. So we have a hotline here at MFBN, and we'll help you with SNAP applications. We'll help you get connected to things like LEAP and all these other things. And then what we do is we go around and we train our partner agencies to do that same process. So a lot of them are there just to not only give out food, but to support you in so many other ways.
You know, Gail, that's so good to hear. Working with all the advocates for older adults that I do, and I see so many people go way outside their comfort zone to assist and advocate. That's just super. So they just need to reach out either to the website, to their local pantry, or even to you, and we're going to put all the numbers up on the screen. Now, what if you want to help? What if you're a person who, like, you know, maybe I want to volunteer, maybe I want to give a donation. How do I do that?
Well, if you have a local pantry or a local organization, and this can even be the backpack program in your school, they're always looking for volunteers to help distribute that, or a school pantry, or it could be a local partner agency that's doing food distribution. But they always need help, not only the days of distribution, but stocking shelves and greeting the customers, and again, being trained to help them connect with public assistance programs, those types of things. So that's really the first way that you can do it, in the easiest way. Then, of course, give to your local pantry. One of the beauty of giving to our organization is that for every $1, we can provide at least 5 meals with that $1, because we are able to buy truckloads and huge quantities, so that we can then turn around and distribute that at no charge to our partner agencies. So your $1 goes a long way in our system. We're pretty conservative and able to do quite well with that.
You know, another thing that I always like to see here in Helena, where I live, we have a grocery store that very frequently runs a food drive, and I love it. They put up little signs of what is the most needed at the local pantry, and I go straight there to the shelf. I put it in. They have a big box for me to put it in after I've purchased it, and they take it over. What could be easier?
Absolutely. You know, and some grocers are just make it so easy for you when they have a sponsor a food drive like that in your community. They will literally put signs on the product as you walk through the store saying, this would be a great contribution to your local pantry.
Right.
And it's always, you know, if you think of these things, you can ask the pantry what it is that they need the most. But just think of anything, first of all, that your family would, you know, enjoy, that it's healthy and that is easy to prepare. And that would be what they would need.
Right. You know, and another thing, and I don't know if you're very involved in this, but the post office often does a drive. And again, here in Helena, I can only speak for Helena, Carroll College students help with that and leave a big old bag of canned goods outside my door. Again, what could be easier than that? A college student comes and picks it up and takes it to the post office for me. So I guess my encouragement to our audience, based on what you've said, Gail, is look for those partnerships or maybe start a partnership.
Absolutely. And you know, we love it when you get groups together, whether it's a civic organization or a church or a youth group or anything like that, and they decide to do something for their local pantry, whether it's a food drive or they do a car wash and contribute the money or a garage sale or those types of things, and some of the real creative and innovative ideas that I've heard come up, and from adults and children alike.
You know, another thing that really I don't want to sign off today before we talk about this, Gail, is stigma. And the very, very hard job we all have to make sure that we don't bring stigma to this kind of assistance, and that we don't be a judgmental body about it. If you need food, you need food.
One of the great responses that we hear back when we talk to clients is that the first time is real scary and it's a little intimidating, but they get there and they're so warmly welcomed, and the people there are so eager to help them out, and they don't make it feel like it's a charity. So they become a family, and they get to know them very well and the type of things that they need. So that's the first problem that we have to overcome, is that embarrassment. And we know seniors are the worst for it because they think they're taking it from someone else, and they're not. There's enough for everybody.
Right. And we really want those, again, I really want folks to reach out. Don't just decide this isn't for you, or you don't need it, or someone else needs it more than you, as you just said, Gail. This is for everyone, plenty. As long as we can get you access, we have plenty of food to put out there. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. The agencies are well stocked, and they're just ready for you to come over there and visit them.
Well, you know, Gail, I really have enjoyed so much having you here today, and I'm wondering if there's anything you can tell us about what gives you the motivation every day to come back and do this, because this is an important job.
It is. You know, and it's not very often I get an opportunity to get out into the community and talk to the people with the lived experience. But when I do, it's what sustains me for the rest of the year. So just hearing the stories of success and what just a food basket or a food box can do to bring someone out of a depression or out of poverty, or, you know, feeling better about themselves, so now they can go out into the community and be a productive citizen. Right. That's what I love to hear.
Thank you, Gail, so much for being with us today. It's been a great conversation. Come back anytime and bring something for me to eat next time, will ya?
Absolutely.
And folks, remember, it's a hand up, not a handout. If you need food, you deserve food. No one should ever go hungry. Look for the resources in your community. Look online, give a call. For Aging Horizons, I'm Kimmy Everman. Thanks for being with us.
Special thanks to the Department of Public Health and Human Services for their continued support. Hosts on Aging Horizons are program specialists at the Montana Office on Aging. Production facilities provided by Video Express Productions. For more information about Aging Horizons, call the Department of Public Health and Human Services toll-free at 800-332-2272.